go ahead and just get started. Cool. DXY. Pretty much following up from Tuesday. Pretty much we've reached the exact point that we wanted. Right, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. We have reached that POI that we pretty much mentioned on Tuesday. But right, although technically, right, we could assume bearishness at least short term. Right, it's kind of hard to assume full-on bearishness just because of the confirmed unwillingness here. So all we can do right now is follow our medium-term bias, which is obviously low, high, right? And the first thing that I would note here is the fact that we did not take out our previous high, making this obviously a relative equal high, but right, that does mean that we are still technically bullish from our medium-term bias, but internally we are bearish because we have taken out the preliminary structure. So in order for this to continue, you would need, right, a type of catalyst, a type of transition to the upside, excuse me, to essentially give you a move back into the upside, which you could see as inefficiency fill, and currently right, if you see a break, right, obviously of internal structure here, then you could definitely see, right, a run back up to the upside, just because this would now be a confirmed low based on, right, our pretty much low high retracement continuation. But in terms of movement this week, right, pretty much expected, and pretty much we're just following what happened throughout, last week, which was giving us that bullish transition, and this week we're just pretty much continuing that bias from the last week. Moving on to EU, pretty much still holding previous positions. I was up late last night around 1 a.m. And I'm going to show you guys something. So this is still continuing. It's still, on the way down, right? But as you can see, based on yesterday's session, right, we were short-term bullish here. Let me actually go to 10 minutes. Right, we were short-term bullish, right, from our session move. And you guys know that technically we are, I know a lot of you were in this bullish run from here, and from here, right? But if we zoom out, we know that realistically, right, the direction that we have originally been in is down. So we are originally coming from a downside movement. Why not pursue a internal bearish move, right? So now when I'm referencing this, right, what happened during I believe the Asia session right here, right, I'm noting what is happening in terms of order flow and continuation. So what I have to note here, right, is that in order for me to be as conservative as possible and actually obtain a reasonably worth a trade, I know that I have to wait for my transitions. So I know that internally we are bullish from low to high, right? And then we obviously have a low, and we never confirmed a new high. So technically this is the start of the pullback here. So this means that bearish order flow is in play, at least for the short term run, unless, right, we can obviously catch, the transition to the downside. So I know I don't really get into this much anymore. Well, I do indirectly, right? And do you guys remember what I told you guys about what a Wyckofian means? What does it mean to be a Wyckoff trader? Not something many people can answer, but I know I've talked about it before. Exactly, study of ranges. So I know, right, that realistically from a Wyckoff overall POV, I'm studying ranges because I know that I want to catch a higher risk to reward by catching a transition within a range, whether it's a continuation, reversal, continuation being reaccum redistro, or reversal being accum distro, right? So I don't care much to note out what, you know, everything is from a selling climax to a secondary test to a spring, right? Or inversely to what is an up thrust, what is a UTAD. I don't really care much for that because we know how order flow moves. We know that order flow will transition via mitigation. So I have to study what happens inside of a range in order to have a bias presented to me. So looking at this from M1, right, this is around 12, yeah, around 1 AM. What we are seeing, let me move this a little bit. What we are seeing, right, where is our original direction? Obviously down, right? I don't really need to note that. I don't even need to note out my structure points. I know that we are going downward. So I know that this is the internal bias of the low high retracement. So I'm looking for solidified points, right? So what am I noting here? Excuse me. What am I noting here? Solidified points. So I know excuse me, I know, right, that I am presently in a bullish liquidity grab because we did take out a previous low, another previous low, and then we took out a previous preliminary high, meaning this is now my solidified point to the downside, right? I mean to the upside, sorry, or this is the initiation of the pullback per se. So that immediately fails, right, leading into a new lower low. So I know, right, that I don't necessarily just want to trade POI. I don't want to trade just random POI, right? Because you guys know I like to play based on reaction and I like to play based on narrative, right? And those are what the models consist of, whether it's an LG, whether it's an order flow continuation, right? Or whether it's a structural disruption or any type of disruption. So, right, as I can see here, my POIs are now missed. So I'm now seeing a new POI. And if you take a loss here because you don't wait for the transition, that's 100% okay, right? If that's how you are trading, right? But I know, right, based on the reactions given within my POI, I did not get any reaction. I did not get any reaction. If anything, I got an internal, right, reaccumulation per se, if you really want to dive deep here. Which I don't necessarily want to too much, right? But you could say there is an internal reaccumulation because you see a continuation BOS reversal, meaning a structural disruption internally. But what matters is that although we were given a reaction off of the second POI, right, based on a potential liquidity grab, I know that bullish order flow is in play because of this. So I know that in order for this reaction to matter to me, in order for this reaction of a POI to matter to me, we have to take this POI out to signify we are not in strong bullish order flow, because that is currently what is going on. So pretty much what I'm then noting here, right, is then another point being taken out. So at this moment, right, I am not bearish, because I know bullish order flow is in play, right? And I know the continuation is here, right? So as you can see, we come into the continuation POI. That inevitably gives you an order flow disruption, which gives you a continuation BOS. Now I'm seeing a sign of bearishness, a true sign of bearishness, when I see the order flow disruption, the continuation BOS, right? So as soon as I'm seeing that, I'm also seeing it from a liquidity perspective in terms of I've just taken out a previous high and I have now taken out a previous low. So this liquidity grab has now given me the narrative based on what our previous direction is. So although medium term we are bullish, right, we've already seen an effort, a sign of effort to want you to want to go higher based on order flow 1, order flow 2. And that inevitably fails. So Although now, technically, our direction internally is still bullish, right? We have to wait for the transition. So the transition here doesn't occur until potentially there. So I'm highlighting, right, a potential bullish mitigation. The potential bullish mitigation did not lead to create a new high. So there's two ways to go about it, right? And realistically, I want to take both, right? I'm either going to take a 50% trade, right? Or I'm going to take the reversal trade being there. So if I take both, I know that I'm covering, you know, the potential reversal to the upside, because technically momentum is low and we could be seeing a curve to the upside, or I could be reading order flow and structure correctly. I see a bearish liquidity grab here, right? And all I'm seeing is now potential order flow continuation via here, then via here, right? And then I'm seeing a continuation BOS, and I'm seeing a recovery into a potential discount or a potential equilibrium per se of the minute range, right? And I would be covering both directions, right? The invalidation being the high that created the low for me, right? Which is already 1.6. You could even make that a 2. When the counter position would be 1.5, right? So I know no matter which direction goes, either way you're going to win, right? So let's say this one, obviously your targets would be previous equal high, whereas your counter position is obviously targeting solidified lows, meaning solidified low here to here. So that would be target 1, right? So I know either way I'm either going to get a 1 to 13 with a -1 or a 1 to 21 with a -1, right? Does that make sense? Is that making sense? Cool. Right, so I'm favoring, so just a quick summary, I'm favoring downside because of bearish liquidity grab, right? And based on bearish order flow, that is the only reason why I'm justifying a bearish position. But in terms of justifying a bullish position, right, I would be favoring, right, the potential continuation BOS, right? And I would then be seeing a discount, mitigation of the discount, continuation. However, the bullish bias is only based on short term and midterm, whereas the bearish position is supported from internal as well, meaning the liquidity grab, right? It's based on internal and overall direction. So it's a battle between studying internal and medium, and internal and overall direction, right? So is either one right? No. But do you guys know that in the course I do say, right, the reliability, right, the strength of any particular structural anatomy is greater with the higher you go. And by that I mean, if you're going into swing position, those trends are going to be more sustainable than obviously the internal M1, M2, M3, M15 ranges, just because those are scalp intraday and in comparison to swing positions, right? So does that make sense? So that eventually hit my target in the morning, I believe around 7. Yeah. Right, so this is a major target 1, especially because it is a major low, just because this is the last time we created a previous low. So we know, right, that this is a very big partial out position or point, I guess. But either way, right, that should still continue in my opinion, especially looking at where we are now. Even though there is going to be low liquidity, it is about 11 a.m. already, 5 hours till market close. So what I'm noting here, what I was looking at before Zoom, was this, right? The fact that we have it created a substantial new high, and internally, right, we're technically at a breaking point here. So I know that our medium-term direction is bullish because this is the structural range intact currently. And I know that bullish order flow is in play here, right? Mitigation, then mitigation of the mitigation. So I want to see which direction this will sustain itself in, because we could easily see, right, even now, because this looks like what, an M3? Yeah, M3SC here. Because this is technically in play currently, and this is the derived POI. So we could easily see this start to roll over or give us a disruption, and that would mean that Monday you would probably see bullish movement. As far as other pairs, AU, same thing as last week, same thing as this previous week. But here's something cool to know is excuse me, what happened on Tuesday, what I mentioned on Tuesday. Was it? I believe it was Tuesday. Yes, it was. Where I was discussing the potential bullish opportunity here, right? If you guys remember, the potential bullish opportunity, which pretty much failed because of the internal solidified point. Don't remember exactly where it was. Yeah, it was right here. Right, where we created the solidified point here, and that pretty much made this catching a low, so I would need a bullish transition to then actually take my bullish position. But this inevitably failed, right? But you did see an effort to want to go higher, right? So because that effort was shown, I know that in theory it is considered a redistribution. So once that broke, I know that we can no longer go higher. So as you can see, there was continuation 1, continuation 2, potential continuation 3, right? Depending on how you choose to enter. And as you can see, we are still seeing downside movement. But also what's interesting here was there was willingness here too to want to take this higher, right? Which then failed, right? So we are clearly in a bearish condition, right? So this one probably isn't going to stop. Still rolling over, currently there. GU, this one actually, wow, gave you a very nice bearish move. I don't know if anybody caught positions on this. I haven't really been looking at this just because I didn't like this. So I just haven't been looking at it pretty much for the past since Tuesday, Wednesday. So, but I'm pretty sure there was something inside, maybe. Not even the POI there. No, actually, never mind. Right, I don't see any strong order flow here, but I do see strong momentum. So I know that we are bearish, right? Unless you see a bullish transition here, right? But without that, you're still considered bearish. And let's see who's on the call today. Okay, cool. Dom isn't on the call today, but if you guys remember last week, he did show that that EG move, which was up here. Right, this move up here, and he pretty much, I don't know if he caught this one or this one, but as you can see, if you guys want to go see his review, I think it was very well done, very well explained. and from here it's pretty much dropped 180 pips since then. And I believe at the beginning of the week we were here, if you guys don't remember. So he pretty much presented his bias here. So the bias was presented, I mean, no, he didn't. He gave us the bias here based on the execution that he had taken here. And as you can see now, throughout the, throughout this week, he's seen a very big move. Just because of the transitions that occurred internally here and here. Right, I believe his entry was here, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that. Yeah, very good breakdown. It was on November 12th, was it? No, not 12th, I'm sorry, the 14th? 16th, sorry, 16th. But yeah, unless somebody has some studies they want to show, or just anything they want to show, or any questions, just let me know. Anybody? Any breakdowns today? Which tab? What do you mean which tab? It was on last Friday's Zoom. It was at the end of last Friday's Zoom. No, I don't do breakdowns on Discord. I don't know if, I mean, you know what, I'll just ask him to, if he's watching this in the recording, then yeah, it would be cool to have that recognition. If not, all good. But yeah, does anybody have any questions? Any questions, Jordan? Cool. But yeah, I mean, all we're really doing is continuing the bias that we presented last week. After we saw, the transition here, it's just been continuation. You see what I mean? So yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Cool. Maybe on next Friday we can see some more breakdowns if anybody chooses to want to show some. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hopping on. Yeah, you see. Let's see what happens here from today to Tuesday. But yeah, I'll see you guys on Tuesday.